Is Meta Quest winning or losing? Are Meta's Reality Labs, which is the unit that makes the Quest family of virtual reality headsets and Ray-Ban Meta Smart glasses, are they making any profits for the company, or is it a complete dumpster fire in terms of profitability or even sustainability? We have an interesting topic to talk about today, but before doing so, friendly reminder, we have a new monthly subscriber goal that we really want to achieve, but we can't do it without you. So if you want to support the channel and if you want us to keep covering all the latest VR news, reviews, and discussions, then make sure you're subscribed. Also, make sure you hit that like button and share the video out so it reaches more people. Thank you so much for your support. Alright, now, before we talk about the financial side of things, we must first talk about Meta's offerings in the VR space and their current market position. Meta is currently selling two VR headsets, the Meta Quest 3 and 3S, for starting prices of $499 and $299. While we don't have official numbers yet, it's pretty clear that both headsets are doing fine, especially the Quest 3S. Quest 3 seems to have sold somewhere between 1 and 2 million units at this point. Last June we found out that it sold at least 1 million units. How did they figure this out? Well, at that time, over 1 million people had completed the Quest 3 mixed reality introduction experience first encounters. So yeah, 1 to 2 million units sold is a realistic expectation in February 2025. Of course, that's nowhere near as good as the previous generation headset Quest 2 was selling in the same time frame, but that's okay, since Quest 3 was never intended to be the true successor to the Quest 2, due to the high price differential. That has to be the recently released Quest 3S, which is currently doing great as expected, thanks to its relatively cheap price. Despite being released in the last quarter of 2024, Meta's entry-level VR headset became the top-selling console on Amazon US in 2024, surpassing both the Nintendo Switch and the PS5. Keep in mind that this is just on Amazon US, so things could be less interesting in other markets. But generally speaking, the MetaQuest 3S should sell very well thanks to its low price. Of course, we can't talk about Quest headsets without acknowledging the elephant in the room, the MetaQuest 2. Although Meta is no longer making Quest 2 headsets, if we factor in the Quest 2 sales numbers, we're looking at 20 plus million Quest users. So in terms of VR market share, it comes as a surprise to no one that Meta is the dominant player at the moment. So everything seems great for Meta's VR division, right? They have the market share, their VR headsets are selling great, and therefore they're receiving great support from game developers. Why the hell am I making this video then? Well, if you're looking at this from the consumer's perspective, then yeah, Meta is doing great. However, if you take a deeper look at the business side of things and its potential implications on Meta's VR plans, things then start to take a twist. I have an article here from CNBC that was published a couple of days ago. All my sources will be linked in the description below. I'll read the highlights and then we'll discuss. It says here, quote unquote, Meta continues to lose billions of dollars developing the virtual reality and augmented reality technologies needed to underpin the nascent metaverse. The social media giant reported fourth quarter earnings Wednesday and said its Reality Labs unit recorded an operating loss of $4.97 billion, while generating $1.1 billion in sales. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg kickstarted his company's VR endeavors in 2014 when it acquired the startup Oculus for $2 billion. Since then, Zuckerberg has characterized VR and AR as central to his plans to develop the futuristic digital world known as the metaverse, which he has said represent the next major computing platform. And guys, take a look at the quarterly losses for Meta's Reality Labs. Yeah, to say it's not looking good would be an understatement. They have been bleeding green pretty much since the start, and somehow it just keeps getting worse and worse year over year. I mean, they just had their biggest loss yet in Q4 2024, ironically at a time when they just launched their hot-selling Quest 3S. Quote-unquote, Wall Street has questioned Zuckerberg's metaverse investment. Reality Labs has tailed an operating loss of more than $60 billion since 2020, as of Meta's fourth quarter earnings report. And yeah, let me tell you something. If I were an investor at Meta, I would not be happy with these results. But hold on a second. Sure, they're clearly overspending, but what about their revenue? Maybe they're making more money, and in that case, all of this would be meaningless. Well, they're not even close to breaking even. Reading from another article from Statista, again, all my sources will be linked in the description below. Quote unquote, in 2024, the operating loss of Meta's Reality Labs division amounted to a record of $17.7 billion, bringing the total losses of Mark Zuckerberg's big bet close to $70 billion for the past 6 years. At the same time, the division generated just $2.1 billion in revenue last year, highlighting how far from profitability Meta's forays into virtual and augmented reality still are. And wow, $17.7 billion of losses versus $2.1 billion in revenue. Yeah, that is definitely a money pit. And before you tell me in the comments that you do not care if Meta keeps losing billions, you're not an investor, you don't work at Meta, all you care about is their games. Well, I don't want to be the harbinger of doom here, but if things keep going at this rate at Meta's Reality Labs, then you better believe that at some point investors will balk at Meta's continued spending on a losing business. You also have to factor in that AI is booming these days, so investors might look at that and then turn to Mark Zuckerberg and say, hey, are you seeing this? This is where the money is being made. Maybe focus on this instead of VR gaming headsets. And this actually brings me to another important aspect of this conversation, which is Meta's plans for 2025 and what is really the end goal here. Is it gaming? I mean, we hope it is, right? But something tells me that unfortunately that's not the case. Reading from CNBC.com, quote unquote, Meta last week said it would invest between $60 billion and $65 billion in 2025 capital expenditures to expand its computing infrastructure related to artificial intelligence. Zuckerberg has previously said AI is core to the company's metaverse efforts, including its Ray-Ban Meta Smart glasses. Let's switch back now to the Statista article. Quote unquote, speaking about these initiatives in an earnings call, Mark Zuckerberg said that 2025 is going to be a pivotal year in determining the trajectory of Meta's long-term projects. This will be the year when we understand the trajectory for AI glasses as a category. Zuckerberg said, many breakout products in the history of consumer electronics have sold 5 to 10 million units in the third generation. This will be a defining year that determines if we're on a path towards many hundreds of millions and eventually billions of AI glasses, and glasses being the next computing platform like we've been talking about for some time. All of this is just going to be a longer grind. So as you guys just heard, VR gaming headsets are really not the ultimate goal for Meta, and will not be the major focus in 2025. No, the end goal is glasses. AI glasses, who would have thought, right? As much as I hate to say it, but they're using us gamers as some sort of bridge to reach their ultimate goal. An appetizer, if you will. Once they reach their goal, what do you think is gonna happen? You think they care about gaming? I mean, I hope so. I really hope so, but I don't know. Something tells me they're not gonna give a shit about gamers. Will they reach their goal? I also don't think so. But this is now entering speculation territory. So let's just summarize what we just went through and let's take a final look at the data that we have. Meta is selling a lot of VR headsets, no one can deny that. Thanks to Meta, the VR market grew substantially and VR development is now a thing. Unfortunately, Quest gamers have low engagement. Most of their users are children who don't have money to spend on games, so they just play free-to-play games like Gorilla Tag for example. And the rest of their player base, well, most of them simply use their Quest headset as a PC VR headset, and therefore they mostly buy their games from Steam. So Meta is not making much money from its VR users. They admitted this themselves. This was also proven by the fact that some multi-platform VR games are actually selling better on PSVR 2, a fraction of the market compared to Quest. I covered this in a separate video by the way, so if you're interested, you can click on it in the end screen. So Meta is losing a lot of money. They're not even remotely close to making enough money to break even. So we're not talking about profitability here. We're talking about a business that is completely unsustainable and has been since the start. And it doesn't seem like things are changing for the better anytime soon. So now I'm gonna go back to the question that I asked at the beginning of this video and I want you guys to give me an answer. Is MetaQuest winning or losing? I'm interested to know where you stand on this, so let me know in the comments below. And that's gonna have to do it for this video guys. Thank you for watching and remember, for more VR news, reviews and discussions, make sure you stick with MBG.